For this demo, we have prepared a simple image processor. As a first step, I will show you how this works, and then we will do some editing of the processor and show you how this can be easily edited and functionality of this processor to be changed according to the needs of the user of the system. So first of all, we have to add this application to the cockpit. So it's like in an application store that we all use. You just install it. So here you add it to the cockpit, and as you can see, it's now added to the cockpit. And if you go to computation cockpit, we will see that the simple image processor is now in the cockpit without any tasks yet, because we did not run anything. What the simple image processor does, it processes images, of course. So we have some images prepared. It's on my local computer, and you can assume that this system that we're running is on some central server somewhere. But here on my local computer, I have some pictures, nice pictures of dogs and cats, and we will try to process these pictures with our system. So this image processor does very simple thing. It grays out these pictures. So in a second folder that I have already prepared, it's empty now. But in the second folder, we will see the same pictures but grayed out. So what we do is we initiate the task. We name it, for example, task one. There are some details, technical details that are hidden and you don't need to care about them, like the usage of CPU, GPU, memory storage, and so on, and the ranges of it. But for the end user, it's enough to understand that we have some priorities. So you can decide how important it is for you and how many credits you can use you can spend to run this task. We will not change anything here, and we can create the task. So now the task is created, and it's not yet running. It's just waiting for us to insert some references to the data. So here we have two things. We have to determine where the input images are and where the output images are. So we can select from available data sources. We have just two of them here defined, input images that comply with this application, of course, because we can define more. And of course, we want to have these images sent to some other place, not to the same directory as the original ones. So we select output images. And then we insert these two data sets or references to the places where the data is, and we want this data to be generated. And we start this insert. And now, as soon as we insert, we will be able to see that our folder is starting to be populated with this grayed out images. So our system computes these images in somewhere in the background and sends it to my computer so that we can see all these images popping up after being calculated. So here in the input folder, we have these images, as you can see. We can compare them. And here in this output folder, one by one, you have new grayed out images. Of course, we have slowed this a bit because normally you would see these images pop up like in 5 seconds or 10 seconds or something like that, because it's really quite fast. This is not a complicated task. So this is slowed down so that you can see that it works. Meanwhile, if we go to that task, we can see inside the task all the data of this task. So, for example, this task consists of 3 steps. Step 1 is about getting these images from my computer to the system, to the inside of the system, to a database that is inside the system. Then we have step 2, that is about computing individual pictures. And as you can see already, this number is working. These are still idle, but they will run soon. And then this step 3 is about uploading back these images to my computer. So if we go back again to this folder, as you can see, we have already 37 of them computed, and they are one by one, they're computed there. And here in this cockpit, you can refresh it. Now here you can see all of them are working, and you can see all the details if you need. Of course, these are just technical details. You don't need to inspect it all the time. It's just if you want to see what's the progress. As you can see, for the demo, we don't yet show the progress of these tasks. But otherwise, for example, the start time is there, and the status is there. Okay, so more or less, I think it should be soon. Yeah, it's already finished because we had 50 pictures here. They are all grayed out, and it works. Okay, but this is a simple scenario where you just go to the App Store, you select one of the applications, you go to the computation cockpit, and then you start a task. Of course, you can now start another task for this image processor. You can give it another set of data and so on. But now let's go and try to develop our own application. So we go to the development shelf, and as you can see in the development shelf, you have the applications that you've already seen in the App Store. Actually, here you have 6 applications in the App Store. In the development shelf, you have 7 applications, because one of them is not yet sent to the App Store. It's just developed by this developer. And in this upper part, you have the applications. Applications are just ready to be used by the end users to do some specific tasks. And here at in the lower part, you have so-called computation modules. So these are the modules that are developed by this particular developer. There are various modules, and the modules that were used for this application were these gray out module. This module is used to gray out pictures, but we have another module that is used to detect edges within the picture. So we will now use this module. So what we will do in the development shelf, we will create a new application. Let's call it My App. We create it, and it shows up here. And then we have to edit a diagram for the application. Yes. So this is the editor that we use, and here we have a toolbox with some modules. As you can see, we have these modules in the toolbox already introduced, because the developer already have entered these modules into the toolbox. Because normally, if you there should be like hundreds of such modules in the system, and the developer just wants a few of them in the toolbox, not to be overwhelmed with the number. Okay, so let's start the application. First, we need to put an input pin. Let's call it input images. Input. So here, this will somehow represent the place where we want to input images, and this will represent the place where we want to output images. We can also set some other parameters, but we will not do that, like the data type or access type, but let's not care about this for this demonstration. And then what we want to do is we want to have 3 modules here. So this module is used to get the data from my computer and put it to the database that is inside the system. The second module that we will use, this one, uses the same database because we know it from the specification of the system, and that is the same database as this system will put this data into, and we'll do this edging algorithm. And then we need a third module, which will do the reverse thing. It will take the data from the database and put it into my computer, into this folder. And of course, we need to connect everything so that the system knows how this should proceed. So we connect it. And actually, that's it. We have the application. This, you might wonder why this pin here has black triangle, and the other ones have white triangles. This black means that it produces many outputs. So it gets some images and puts them into the database and produces many tokens for each of the images and sends it to this graying, this edging module. And this graying module, after it receives a token about one particular file with a cat or a dog, then it takes this file and processes it and puts the file back to the database. And this module puts the file onto my computer through the FTP. In order for us to be able to follow this application, we will also change the names. So let's call it first step, let's say first step. So this is the first step of the application. This is the second step. And this is the third step. Okay, so now we have the application. It's already saved. We don't need to save anything. It's constantly being saved to the data to our system. And this is our app. So as you can see, this app is in my development shelf, but it's not yet in the App Store. So no one else except for me can run it. But now I want it to be added to the App Store. Of course, there is a whole process for doing that. We will simplify it very much. So what I want to do is I want to create a release of this application. So I can enter the version, let's say it's 1.0, and we create this version. Okay, so now it's created and in the App Store. Of course, in order to use it, just as for this simple image processor that we have seen, you have to add it to the cockpit. And now if you go to the computation cockpit, you can see my app in the cockpit with the possibility to start a task. So let's start a new task. Let's call it task 2. As you can see, it has this version 1.0 that we have created. So let's create a new task. We have task 2, and we have to insert data. As you remember, if we go back to the diagram, we have 2 pins. One on the input, it's that accepts input images, and one on the output that expects us to define where to put the output images. So when we start our task, and the action is to insert data for the input images and for the output images. So again, we will use the same folder with that is defined in the data shelf, and the output images will be put in the same place. So let's insert, and now it runs this task. So if we go to the task, you can see that our first step was started, and second step was started. Our third step has not yet started. As soon as it starts, it should produce these images. Okay, so it started. Now we have images of these cats and dogs. You can see, for example, this particular image shows some edges, and it works. Here you have a cat that you can see the edges of the cat. The images are quite small. Yeah, this is edged out cat, and this is the grayed out cat. The same cat that has been grayed out. Yeah, this is the cat. Okay, so our new application is now running, as you can see, and it uses this new module that instead of graying out pictures, it shows edges within the pictures. And of course, this edging algorithm is used can be used for many purposes because in order to detect things, you sometimes need to detect edges within pictures. So for now, it just shows you the edged pictures. But for other applications, you could combine this module with other modules, with further modules, to do some more complex computations.